Alrighty, y'all. What's going on? Welcome back. It's now Thursday. You know what the air quotes mean. I don't think I have to explain it anymore. And as promised, me and Andrew are going to go through what we call kind of a quarterback movement sort of special, right? Because we're kind of making stuff up as we go now. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about 5 to 8 quarterbacks, where they are now, if you think they're going to stay, if they're going to go, and why. And we're going to keep it nice and quick and short for you guys. So let's dive in. Who you got first?
Let's hop over to Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
Deshaun Watson has made it very known he does not want to stay in Houston. He does not want to be there. Head coaching change doesn't matter. They still haven't hired one, but he doesn't want to stay there. So, do you think he will end up staying, or do you think he'll go?
I think he's leaving. And the reason why I say that is because it's, they're asking for his advice, and then they're not taking his advice and using it, or even valuing it. It's just lip service at this point. And if you're Deshaun Watson, you got to think about, what have I been able to do with my career so far? I'm a hyper talented quarterback, and I haven't been able to do anything outside of a run for my life every single game since I got here.
Sure.
And at some point in time, you have to think about the longevity of your career and what you're trying to accomplish. And I don't think Houston is a place to accomplish anything good.
No.
And I think his destination, for some reason, I'm thinking Jets or Dolphins.
Because the Dolphins and the Jets both have the draft capital and the cap space to handle this contract.
I'm leaning more towards the Jets for some strange reason, because I think the Dolphins are in on Tua.
Yes.
Which if I were the Dolphins, I would send it all. I want Deshaun Watson.
Of course.
I want Deshaun Watson, but I think he's going to the Jets, which would be very interesting.
Yeah. I think in a 2 first-round picks and include Sam Darnold, I think you could get Deshaun Watson.
I think it's going to be more than that.
It might end up being more.
It might be 4 first-rounders, honestly. That's how talented he is.
It could be. But the Texans being the dumb organization that they are, I think he's going to go too. I think he's going to leave. I think he's going to go somewhere. And I think it will end up being New York, because it seems he's been very clear that that's kind of the spot he wants to be. He was at the Nets game the other night and, posting cryptic things about, wearing green. It just seems like that kind of thing where it's almost become a spectacle at this point where, do I think he should go to New York? No. I think he should definitely go to Miami or somewhere like that. But Miami does, like you said, seem pretty sold on Tua. So I think Deshaun Watson won't end up staying in Houston. Very interested to see who they end up getting and who ends up, ending up in Houston. Poor soul.
I'm happy for him too, because he needs to get out. That place is just a graveyard for careers. It's very similar to New York. To a Jets, which is kind of interesting that he's going to.
I think they like his head coach though. Robert Saleh just got.
He actually wanted him to be his GM or his head coach. Actually, he actually brought him up in terms of people that interviewed, and they clearly did not do that. So that would make sense. That would make sense.
So I think Deshaun Watson, you'll see him on the move.
Which is good. I'm happy for him.
Me too.
I'm happy for him.
All right, let's hop over to. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers really quickly. There were rumors after the NFC Championship game that he would be going elsewhere, or he would try to go elsewhere, try to force a trade, try and make something happen. But just on Tuesday on the Pat McAfee show, Aaron Rodgers likes to make his appearance there every Tuesday. He stated, "There's no reason I would go anywhere else. I'm not leaving Green Bay." So Aaron Rodgers will be staying put, 99% sure.
Right.
And I think it would be weird seeing him in anything other than a Green Bay.
Correct. I agree.
Which, will he finish his career there? Not sure. They did draft Jordan Love in the first round. That's got to be frustrating for Aaron. And he may, towards the tail end of his career, which could come in the next 3-4 years.
Right.
He could go somewhere else. We'll see. But now let's talk about someone who is more well known to be on the move. Matt Stafford.
Yeah. This is kind of the big one. This is the big one in my opinion. This is the one that I think gets very interesting. You got to look at his landing spots. Where could he go to potentially?
Sure.
Indianapolis.
Yep.
The
Phil
Patriots.
Rivers just retired. Yeah, could go to the Patriots.
He could go to the 49ers.
Could go to the Niners. Could go to the Broncos.
To the Broncos. To the Rams. To the Jaguars potentially.
He could fill any of those holes at quarterback for anybody and immediately make that team.
The Falcons. What if the Falcons do a quarterback swap?
Good. I don't think they will, because they got a lot of money on Matt Ryan right now in terms of salary cap.
Matty Stafford's getting paid a pretty high amount too. Sure. So if they find a way to make up the difference somewhere? I don't know. There's a lot of options, but
imagine Matt Stafford and Julio Jones.
Well, I think the thing is that Julio Jones will probably have to go with Matt Stafford to make up that difference in salary cap.
Okay.
Probably. I don't know for sure.
Sure.
But he's definitely moving. They already came to agreements that they're parting ways, so
Yes.
he's going to be traded.
Yeah.
Now it's just a matter of where he's going to, and I personally think the best fit for him would either be Indianapolis
Yeah.
or the Patriots.
Sure.
Because the Patriots are in desperate need of a quarterback like Matt Stafford, more of a pocket passer, more of a traditional kind of guy.
Sure.
You look at offensive coordinator
Josh
McDaniels. He's always functioned with a guy like Tom Brady, who is a traditional pocket passer, not that running presence, right? But the thing about it is that if I'm a Matt Stafford fan, I would like for him to go to the Indianapolis Colts because they just are way more talented.
Great running back, awesome offensive line, good receivers, defense is young and talented.
Yep.
I think if he goes to the Colts, that's it. That's instantly. You go from, what did they go, 11-5 this year?
Yeah. It's
To
12-4, 13-3.
12-4, 13-3. Probably you absolutely win that division.
Correct.
But without him, if the Colts don't end up getting somebody of value and they have to draft somebody,
They might be in trouble.
they will be in trouble.
Yeah.
They will probably lose that division by a handed margin because not having a quarterback shows. I mean, they had that same issue before Andrew Luck got there.
Correct.
They had a good football team. Andrew Luck obviously wasn't there, and that team almost lost 16 games. They won 1.
Yep.
Andrew Luck shows up. All of a sudden, they're 10-16, make the playoffs. So Stafford could bring that same kind of electric energy. Stafford I think he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks, and probably will go down as one of the most underrated quarterbacks in NFL history when it's all said and done. And unfortunately, if he weren't on the Lions, he'd probably be in the Hall of Fame discussion because of how talented he is,
Right.
and what he brings to the football field. So I'm excited to see if he has some sort of career resurgence. He is only 33, 32
Right.
years
And that's
old.
what people forget. He's not as old as everybody
No.
thinks he is. He's relatively young in the scheme of quarterbacks.
Right.
And
I think he's got a good
he's still got
8 years,
yeah,
7
6
years.
to 8 years I think left in his gas tank.
Yeah.
And Indianapolis I think is the best place for him because they have an offensive line to actually protect him for once.
Sure.
He has the running backs. He has some wide receiver weapons, and he's got a defense that'll back him up.
Yep.
And he's got a head coach that'll allow him to play his brand of football. I think Indianapolis is probably the perfect place for him. And if I was a betting man, I would bet heavily on that.
Yep.
That just seems the most reasonable to me.
Sure.
And now let's swing over to let's go to the Eagles really quick.
Okay.
Carson Wentz. Do you think he's staying now that Doug Peterson is gone? Do you think that he's still leaving, even though Doug Peterson got fired? What do you think about that whole situation?
I think the Eagles were faced with a decision. Do we keep Doug Peterson or do we keep Carson Wentz?
Correct.
They
It's
chose
either him or me. Right.
They chose Carson Wentz. I think he should get shipped. Personally, I wouldn't keep him around. I think it's a good idea because they saw what Jalen Hurts can do. I know I'll make a complete 180 what I said during the season, but Jalen Hurts has shown that he's a talented quarterback who can win football games. He brings a certain element to the game that Carson Wentz does not bring.
Correct.
And Carson Wentz's confidence is very easily shaken. So if you keep Jalen Hurts around right behind him the whole time, you're not going to see Carson Wentz succeed very much. So I would ship him. I don't think they will. I think you're going to see Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts duke it out in training camp, and I think Carson Wentz is going to come up with a job. He's going to get replaced halfway through the year. They might trade him before the deadline.
I'll tell you what, I think similar to you, he's going to stay based off of principle, not because I don't think they want him.
Okay.
He has a massive contract. They're not going to be able to give that away to somebody. He's getting paid a handsome amount.
He would have to restructure.
In the 30 millions. Is he going to be a quarterback getting paid 30 million plus? No, absolutely not.
Right.
It's not going to happen. So he's going to start for the Eagles. He's going to stay. And I think they're going to get a similar result. Clearly, Carson Wentz is not the guy that they thought they were going to be. He's not that spark plug. He's not a leader. Right? You saw the difference when Jalen Hurts was in the game and Carson Wentz was in the game. The team actually rallied behind Jalen Hurts. They actually liked him in the game more. It was evident by the play and the style of football they were playing.
Right.
Carson Wentz, I think he lost that locker room as much as the head coach did.
Sure.
I think the rest of the team was tired of both of them, to be honest. And I don't see Carson Wentz being successful in Philly, but I think that's where he's going to be stuck at. And I'm very curious to see what happens because again, it seemed as though the situation was it's either him or it's me, and they picked Carson Wentz. So whether he stays or he goes, I'm very curious to see. I think the biggest problem they're going to have is if they do try to trade him, it's that contract.
He has to restructure.
That contract is going to stop a lot of teams from wanting to bite on him, especially with his style of play. Like I had said earlier in the season, his style of play is not conducive to winning football games.
Right.
And really, ever since he got into the league.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had that one good MVP season and he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it was up, down, left, and right. And ever since then, he's been on a downslide.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you and Billy would, and I'm not airing you out, but you were talking about, you got to keep him. You got to let him play. I think that time has come and gone. Yeah. I really do. I think it's over.
And I think that changed as soon as Jalen Hurts came on the football field and started playing well. If Jalen Hurts came on the field and showed, obviously he wasn't ready. He's not the quarterback. He's barely even a quarterback. He doesn't play well.
Right.
Like all the people who thought Jalen Hurts wasn't going to be good.
Correct.
He is good. So now all of a sudden Carson Wentz's confidence is shaken. I don't think he wants to be in Philly, but he has to really not want to be in Philly. He would have to give up a lot of money to leave Philly because no team's going to take him with that contract.
Nope.
So we'll see what happens. I do think he stays, but he has to show up and play well.
Correct.
To have a starting job with that contract. Because at the end of the day, they would just. If I were the Eagles, I'm saying, all right, we're trading you. You have to restructure your deal. Oh, I don't want to restructure your deal. All right, well, we're cutting you. We'll pay you. We'll pay you to not be on the team anymore. Because we're not dealing with it. That's what good management would do. All right, let's hit on Jimmy Garoppolo really quick. Because there are some rumors that the Niners are trying to move away from him for one reason or another. Do you think that he will end up staying in San Francisco? Or do you think that his time in San Francisco is up and they're going to try and find something new?
I'll tell you what, if they're smart, you got to stick with him, I think. This was a tough year to gauge him on because it was a revolving door with all of their players this year in terms of injuries. They had 4 games where they were fully healthy and they won all 4 games. Mm-hmm. They have the talent. It's just there's something wrong with that training staff, or there's something wrong with seriously.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with the dietitians. There's something wrong in that building in terms of the health of the players. Because you look at certain teams, why do certain teams get hurt more than others? Mm-hmm. It's not a coincidence.
Could be their field.
They're all playing the same game. Mm-hmm. And they're all required to do similar things as another player on the field. Mm-hmm. So why is it that the 49ers are getting hurt more than other teams? It's up in the air. We have our speculations about training staff, things like that. But Jimmy was hurt the majority of the season. His ankles were giving him a lot of trouble.
Sure.
His knee was giving him a lot of trouble. In the one season he was healthy, they went to the Super Bowl.
Sure.
And in all actuality, they should have won the Super Bowl if they hadn't choked it away. They had a 10-point lead with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. You gotta win that game. Yep. That's unexcusable to me. So I think if you're the 49ers, the smart decision is to keep him, continue to get the talent that you have around him healthy. Health is the big thing. Because Jimmy Garoppolo can't do it alone. He needs to have talent. So I think he's going to stay. I just don't think it would be smart for the 49ers because what other option do they have?
Sure. I think it's interesting, right? Because what is Jimmy Garoppolo as a quarterback, right?
Right.
I think he's on an Alex Smith tier in terms of he's a game manager.
Sure.
He's not going to wow you with his talent. He's not maybe even like a Jared Goff type. He's not gonna, and we'll talk about Jared Goff later. He's not gonna wow you. He's not gonna make crazy, amazing plays. He's gonna distribute the ball to the guys that he needs to distribute it to, and he's gonna get the ball down the field, and he's gonna score.
Right.
If not, they punt it, they play the field position game. But the NFL is slowly turning into a league where your quarterback
dynamics
needs to be a dynamic playmaker. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Luckily for Russell Wilson. Luckily for Jimmy Garoppolo, only one of those guys is in his conference, and it's Russell Wilson.
Yep.
A dynamic football player. So I can see an offensive mind like Kyle Shanahan saying, Jimmy G's not enough. We need to go get something more. We need to get something bigger, better, stronger arm, more aggressive, Matthew Stafford type.
You would be a great fit there.
Right, exactly. So imagine Matt Stafford, George Kittle, and Deebo Samuel.
Oof.
That's a crazy team. And that defense, when healthy,
with
Mostert, my gosh, that would be so clean. But the thing is, can you make that happen? Can you make a deal like that happen?
I really think it comes down to health.
Right,
It comes
exactly.
down to 49ers. Can you stay healthy?
Right. So
Yeah.
I think he will end up staying in San Francisco. I think it's one of those quarterback rumors that's a little too out there
Bit of a
to
reach.
be true.
Right.
But if it were to happen, I wouldn't be surprised. I certainly would not be surprised if Jimmy G went somewhere else. I think a lot of people would because of, like you said, when he was fully healthy for a full season, what did they do? They went to the Super Bowl. Did they win the Super Bowl? No. Arguably because Jimmy G didn't have enough pizzazz at the quarterback position to make some stuff happen against a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who is the antithesis of Jimmy Garoppolo, which is safe and secure. He's all over the place, but in a great way, he's all over the place. Jimmy D's not that. He's very collected.
Correct.
All that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I don't think they'll get rid of him, but wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Yeah. Now let's move over to the person you just mentioned, Jared Goff. Right.
Mhm.
There are rumors circulating in the league that there's a bit of discourse between head coach Sean McVay and quarterback Jared Goff. There seems to be a little bit of a lack of understanding between one party and the next.
Yeah.
And there's starting to be some rumors floating that they might try to start shopping, Jared Goff and
Sure.
see what potentially could be on the table for him.
Yeah.
I personally think that that's a reach.
Sure.
Similar to Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't see that happening.
Sure.
They made that offense around a Jared Goff type, a play action kind of guy. Drive the ball down the field 15 to 25 yards. Let's be methodical. Let's be smart. I just think it was when quarterbacks have tough years, they always are on the trading block now.
Yeah.
Every time a quarterback has a tough year, is he gonna get traded? No, he had a bad year. It happens. What do you think? Do you think that's a reach? Do you think that's within reason? What do you think's going on?
I think this is more likely to happen than Jimmy Garoppolo is.
Interesting. Even with the injury he had.
So yes, I do, because Jared Goff was healthy enough to play towards the tail end of that season. That was obvious, especially in the playoffs. But they decided to start Walford, which fair. He played well in the end of the Seahawks game.
Correct.
Towards the end of the season, so started him in the playoffs. But it seemed to show a lack of confidence in Jared Goff as a player, right?
Agreed.
In most other scenarios, if your quarterback is healthy enough to be active, you start him.
You're letting it fly,
Right.
correct.
If Tom Brady's healthy enough to be active, you start him. If Patrick Mahomes is healthy enough to be active, you start him. I don't care if you got stitches on your hand, you're throwing him.
Right.
Guys who are dynamic and play the position well enough, their brain is good enough to make it worth starting in a quarterback. Sean McDermott didn't think so. He said, no, we'll go with the undrafted kid who just finished a stint in the XFL, or not even the XFL, it was like the AFL or some weird American Football League or something like that, where he played for the Arizona whatevers.
No, you're thinking about the guy.
Pretty good.
You're thinking about the guy who played for the Cardinals. He played for the Cardinals. He was in the CFL, the Canadian Football League.
No, this guy Walford. He did the same thing. He played for the Arizona whatevers in some random league somewhere and did really well.
Okay.
Yeah. And they decided to start him over Jared Goff.
Right.
Interesting play. And then when Jared Goff was in, didn't play very well.
That's a really good
also
point.
had stitches in his hand, so he couldn't make things happen. So a guy like Sean McDermott, who's a go-getter, he's one of those young head coaches like Kyle Shanahan, who wants he wants that next best thing. I can see them getting rid of Jared Goff. I can see them moving on from
Interesting.
him.
But now who's the alternative?
What is exactly? I mean, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in this draft.
And that's the thing though. They made the playoffs, so now you got to look at where they're going to be at in terms of.
Much.
It doesn't matter though. You make the playoffs, you're in the lower 10 picks, regardless. It doesn't matter.
Oh, right. But like, so in a sense of like, it depends on how many teams are looking for quarterbacks in the draft,
Sure.
right?
I mean, a lot of them are. That's the thing.
Are the Falcons looking for quarterbacks in the
Yes.
draft? When the Lions get rid of Matt Stafford, are they looking for a quarterback in the draft? Are the Jets actually going to take a quarterback in the first round, or are they going to go for Deshaun Watson? If they trade for Deshaun Watson, are the Texans going to take a quarterback when they're that high? Because they'll probably get that pick at number 2. Obviously, the Jaguars are going to take a quarterback at number 1. So you have to look at what these teams are going to do in that, because it could be there are 5 quarterbacks who go in the top 10, or
there could be 2.
You could have Justin Fields slide all the way to the end of the draft like
Right.
Lamar Jackson.
Correct.
Like, you just don't know where it's going to pan out. It's going to be such a crazy offseason in terms of quarterbacks. I heard someone say the other day that this offseason will probably be the most quarterback crazy offseason in like the past 15 years.
And it was crazy because I thought last year was nuts.
Right.
And this year is going to be more.
And then it has you thinking, I mean, we won't get too specific into it, but where does a guy like Cam Newton go?
Right.
If the Jets get a quarterback, where does Sam Darnold go? Because he's a starting caliber quarterback. I don't care what anyone says. It's the New York Jets who killed him. If the Dolphins get Deshaun Watson, what the heck happens to Tua? Does he go to Houston?
Right.
Are the Broncos really that sold on Drew Lock? Are they going to try and go get Matt Stafford? What happens there? Like, there's just so many different things that could happen in this NFL. Drew Brees is retired. What the heck are the Saints going to do at quarterback? Are they going to ride with Jameis Winston? Are they going to try and do Taysom Hill? Or are they going to try and draft somebody if someone falls? Or are they going to try and get Matt Stafford? You just don't know what's going to happen. Could they get Jimmy Garoppolo? Jimmy Garoppolo in New Orleans with Mike Thomas? Ooh,
that would be nice.
Alvin Kamara? Come on now. There's just so many. It's like playing a fantasy draft.
Right. What are the Bears going to do?
The Bears are most certainly not going to ride with Mitchell Trubisky. If they do, they should set the building on fire. It's like playing fantasy draft in Madden, where it's like, all right, have your pick a quarterback. It's gonna be awesome. Will Tom Brady retire if he wins the Super Bowl? Is he going to say, I'm going out on top, forget it? Now the Bucs don't have a quarterback.
Right.
Are the Carolina Panthers going to stick with Teddy Bridgewater? Or are they going to try and get Matt Stafford? You just heard me list off almost every team in the NFL who potentially needs a quarterback.
What about Washington?
Washington needs a... Oh my gosh, Washington needs a quarterback!
What about Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh could move off of Ben Roethlisberger because he should retire. I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Are the Falcons going to keep Matt Ryan?
Right.
You could name every team in the NFL and say, well, their quarterback might not be around. Other than Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, Cleveland. The Bengals, they're going to keep Joe Burrow, obviously. So there are only maybe 10 teams you could think of that are like, yeah, their quarterback probably not going to change. The Packers,
Arizona,
Minnesota, Seattle, but other than that, free reign. What the heck's going to happen?
And this is going to be crazy. And one more thing, guys, before we go really quick, I just want to make an announcement. Me and Andrew were kind of talking about it and what we wanted to do. We're going to stay busy during the offseason. We're not turning this off. We're going to keep coming here. We're going to keep having our presence shown because we really enjoy it. We hope you guys enjoy it too.
Yeah, absolutely. This is fun.
And what we plan on doing is kind of having something similar to maybe like a weekly recap, or we compile all of the movement or the big things that had happened throughout the week, and we come together and talk about it on a Tuesday or a Thursday.
And we'll have some specialty stuff.
And we'll have some specialty
rankings from the past season.
Correct.
Draft specials. We gotta talk about the NFL draft. We gotta dive into those college players and all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna have a lot to do.
Correct. So just want to let you guys know we have a lot of stuff coming. I think we pretty much got a quarterback, right? That we really wanted to talk about.
I mean, in depth, yeah. I think we hit pretty much every nail on the head. And then obviously we just ran the train on every single NFL team that could possibly have a quarterback situation. So.
Alright, so guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let Andrew know what you think in the comments, because this is going to be a crazy ass offseason. There's going to be so much movement. This NFL is going to look very different next year, and I'm all in. I'm all in. But alright, y'all, we will catch you guys next Tuesday, where we're going to go into our kind of superlative award show. We might dress up for that one, put on a suit and tie really quick. And then after that, a week from today, we're obviously going to give our Super Bowl predictions, who we like, who we don't like. We're going to go into a lot of depth there. We're going to break down specific matchups. We're going to break down specific things to watch for, who we think the key players are going to be. We're going to kind of put our thinking caps on and actually sound smart for once. But until next time, y'all, we will see you. Alrighty, later.